Block, formerly known as Square, is a $50 billion fintech company. They literally pioneered so much of what we know at the intersection of finance and technology. Now, naturally, if you're at that intersection, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, that ends up being a place where you pay attention. Now, we know that Jack Dorsey is a huge proponent of Bitcoin and nothing else really. And as they continue to push further into Bitcoin, Cash App has an entire business line that is dependent on Bitcoin and the ability to help their customers buy and sell the digital currency. Now, earlier this week, Block put out a report, Bitcoin Knowledge and Perceptions, for their 2022 Bitcoin report. And I gotta say, it was chock full of great information. I've pulled 3 specific data points that I think are worth paying attention to. The first here is that people with lower incomes recognize the utility of Bitcoin, as they state that people that have those below average incomes, they more frequently note that Bitcoin's a good way to send money or to buy goods and services than people who have above average incomes. Basically, the way to think about this is rich people, they use Bitcoin as a speculation tool. They want to actually invest in it. They want to make money. They think of things like inflation hedges, etc. But if you're in a lower income bracket, you simply want the utility. You want to be able to save, you want to be able to send, and you want to be able to spend as much as possible with as little friction as possible. And that's exactly what this Block report goes ahead and highlights, is that the higher income folks, they look at it as speculation and investment. Lower income folks, they continue to seek out the utility that a digital currency that doesn't have middlemen allows for. Then if we move on to the second data point here, we can see that on a country by country basis, there's also a similar breakdown. First is countries like Nigeria, Vietnam, India. They have a very high need for remittances, and the appeal of Bitcoin to send money to other people cross border ends up being seen in those countries. If you're actually receiving lots of remittances or you're sending lots of remittances, then of course something like Bitcoin becomes quite attractive. It's much lower fees than anything else, especially places like Western Union. And so naturally, Nigeria, Vietnam, and India all claiming, yes, Bitcoin is useful for remittances. Then if we go look at lower income nations that see the value of Bitcoin as a means of transacting, guess what? Same countries, China, Vietnam, Nigeria, India, South Africa, Argentina, all of these countries where people that have lower incomes, they want to figure out how to use Bitcoin from a utility standpoint, which is directly in contrast to the Western world narrative of Bitcoin simply being an investment asset. Bitcoin has investment properties to it. You can buy it and it can go up in US dollar value or it can go down. But people around the world, the 7+ billion people not in the United States, they're using Bitcoin from a utility standpoint. They want to actually be able to save it, spend it, or send it. And those 3 things are part of Bitcoin's value proposition. Now, lastly, if we go ahead and we take a look, well, Bitcoin has an inflation hedge. Guess who understands that? Countries with high inflation. Not really that surprising, but Argentina is literally off the charts. They've got about 50% annual inflation. And so of course, they look for things that can actually protect them from that inflation. Nigeria, India, South Africa, many other countries as well. And so naturally what we get is that people in the United States, people in the Western developed world, Bitcoin is a speculation tool for many of them. They see that it has volatility, that it could go up a lot or down a lot. They want to trade it, they want to own it, and they want to simply use it to make more money. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to remember that the bulk of people around the world, they're not looking for an investment. They're looking for safety, and they're looking for utility. If you have high inflation, you want an inflation hedge. And Bitcoin serves great for that over the last 2 years. It's outperformed stocks, bonds, currencies, and real estate, and other commodities. And so naturally, if Bitcoin can serve as that inflation hedge and people are holding it, then they want to be able to save in it, they want to be able to spend it for goods and services, and they want to be able to send it, whether inside their country or across borders. Bitcoin continues to gain adoption, and every single underlying fundamental continues to grow up and to the right. Yes, the price is down, but the utility's up, and people around the world are starting to wake up and realize it.